All right, Ms. Dallas, I want to get something very clear for the jury. In your own words, there is no amount of evidence that would convince you that Miss Ryder didn't kill her dog.
I really think Jordan's responsible for this.
And in fact, you weren't there on the weekend of July 14th, 2018 at Cawthon's campground.
No, Jordan had told me she and Parker were going out to see a movie. I didn't know they were going to be at Calkins.
So you can't really tell us what happened that weekend.
No, I wasn't there.
And like you said, there's no amount of evidence that could convince you that Miss Ryder didn't kill her dog.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan took her to Calkins.
You said that it would have been better if Miss Ryder were left to rot in prison. Isn't that right, Miss Dallas?
I did say that. Me and Jordan have had a really rocky relationship.
In fact, you'd say it's safe to say that you hate your sister.
I did say I hate my sister, but I've been trying to forgive her since she's been indicted.
Objection, Your Honor, as to relevance, as how this witness feels about the defendant is relevant to today's case. Response?
Yes, Your Honor. First of all, I would argue that this objection is untimely if the witness has already answered the question. But secondarily, this is incredibly relevant because this witness is here testifying against the defendant when this witness, in her own words, has stated that she's biased. And she believes that there's no amount of evidence that could be presented, either here in court or elsewhere, that would exonerate the defendant.
All right, overruled. I believe goes to impeachment.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Ryder, Ms. Dallas, now I want to talk about that weekend and what exactly happened. I want the jury to understand the conditions that you were under that weekend. You had gone to bars that weekend.
That's true.
In fact, you were intoxicated from Friday the 13th all the way until about noon on July 14th.
That's true, but since her indictment, I've tried to stay clean.
I understand that, but I'm talking about this specific weekend, Ms. Dallas. On that weekend, you woke up at about noon on July 14th.
That's correct.
You saw that Parker and Miss Ryder, they weren't at home.
Yeah, I assumed they'd still be out.
And you were awake for a little while,
Yes.
and then you went out drinking again that night.
Yeah, I went out later with some friends again.
Then the next morning, you woke up at about 7 in the morning,
Yes, I think so.
and then that's when you decided to contact the police.
Yeah, as soon as I realized Parker wasn't where she was supposed to be.
So for a period of almost 48 hours, you didn't know where Parker was,
I didn't know, I just knew she was with Jordan.
but you didn't say anything to anyone.
I mean, I texted Parker a whole lot.
All right, Ms. Dallas, now I want to talk about what happened when you finally did contact the police, and you spoke to a Detective Chesney,
Yes.
and you said that you told Detective Chesney everything.
Yes, he asked me some questions, but they were doing their search for Parker, I believe.
Right. Specifically, Detective Chesney asked you about Parker's medical condition, right?
Yes, he did.
Detective Chesney asked you to provide documentation of that.
I think I told him Parker was sick, but I can't recall.
That's right. You told Detective Chesney that Parker was sick, but you never provided him with any medical records.
No, I was just worried about them finding Parker.
You didn't provide Detective Chesney with the names of any of Parker's doctors.
No, I didn't.
And Detective Chesney never asked for any of that stuff either.
No, I mean, they were just trying to find Parker. I didn't think they needed to know her specific diagnosis or anything.
So Detective Chesney never got any documentation that Parker was actually diagnosed.
Objection, Your Honor, as to relevance, it's not disputed in today's case that Parker Page had a disease.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Overruled on those grounds.
Yes, Your Honor. So once again, Detective Chesney doesn't have any documentation provided by you that Parker actually had this disease.
And not by me, but I know he has information from the medical examiner.
Now I want to talk about the information that you provided to Miss Ryder about this disease. You wrote Miss Ryder a letter telling her that Parker was sick.
Yes, I did.
You also provided her with a pamphlet about information about this disease.
Yeah, I thought it'd be helpful for Jordan to know.
But Miss Dallas, you also never provided Miss Ryder the names of any of Parker's doctors.
Well, no.
Objection, Your Honor, as to relevance for the names of Parker's doctors.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, it actually is contested in today's trial whether or not Parker actually was diagnosed with this disease, and if she was, how severe it was. I'm probing this witness to determine whether or not they're able to produce sufficient evidence to prove that Parker actually was diagnosed with this disease.
May I be heard on those grounds?
Yes.
If that's the case, then I move my objection to outside of the scope of this witness's knowledge. This witness is not a doctor and simply took Parker Page to doctor's appointments and worked with the information she had from those appointments.
May I respond, Your Honor?
No. Objection sustained. Move on.
Yes, Your Honor.
Move to strike that from the record, the previous
So
hearing.
So,
sir.
Ms. Dallas, you wrote Ms. Ryder one letter about Parker's disease.
I gave her the pamphlet in that letter, but I've written multiple letters to her.
But the letter that you talked about, that's the only letter that you've written to Ms. Ryder about the disease.
That's the letter I've written most about her disease, yes.
All right, Ms. Dallas. Now I want to talk back about the weekend of July 14th, the weekend that you were intoxicated. You weren't at Calkins Campground on July 14th.
No, they didn't tell me they were going to Calkins.
So you can't tell this jury what the conditions of Calkins Campgrounds are,
But like I said before, no.
because you've never been there either yourself.
Yeah, I've never been there.
So you don't know what Parker and her mother were doing that weekend.
Right. Parker's condition, I don't know why she would have been there at all.
You don't know what they were doing at the campsite.
No.
You don't know where they went.
And like I said, I wasn't there with them.
So really, you can't tell this jury anything about what actually happened on July 14th, 2018.
I can just tell my story about my interactions with Parker and how her disease was.
All right, Ms. Dallas, no further questions.
Any redirect?
No redirect, Your Honor. May this witness be excused?
Any objection by the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right, this witness is excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may plan your answers.